Hi, this is Sam with Getting Finances Done in 12 Weeks to Fiscal Fitness. This is week 2 of the program, and last week we created a personal financial binder. And part of that was creating a net worth statement. I made a little note there saying that we might do the net worth statement at a later week, and that's what we're actually going to do this week. It was a little bit too much to do the net worth statement as well as everything else in the financial binder all at once. So let's talk about the net worth statement, and today I'm going to walk you through what a net worth statement is and how to create one, as well as a couple of very useful tips for finding out the value of your property. A couple of things that a lot of you probably don't know. So let's start out looking at the net worth statement, and we're looking right here at a document that I've created, a net worth statement. I'm going to be making this available to newsletter subscribers for free. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that, and then keep an eye on your inbox and you'll be receiving a link to this document. It's just an Excel document that I've created and formatted to be nice, and it has all the formulas in here that you need. So as we look at a net worth statement, basically the net worth statement just tells you how much money you're worth. If you take all of the stuff you own and all the money that you have, and you subtract all of the debts that you owe other people, then it's showing you what money you have left over. And the reason this is important is because knowing your net worth, that's a good number to track your overall progress towards your goals and towards being able to save and accumulate money for various purposes. And so let's look at the net worth statement here. As you can see, for the date, I usually like to do it at the end of a month. It's clean that way, and I just try and do that consistently. You can do this statement as of any particular day, but that's an important point, is that a net worth statement is actually as of a particular day. It's saying, if I take a snapshot on this day, how much money am I worth? How many assets and how many liabilities do I have? So the first section we have is the assets section, and here we start out with property. These are things you own, so your house, your cars, any other things. I put instrument here, any other things that might be worth money. You could put jewelry here, you could put electronics, anything that you deem to be worth money. Now I will say, starting up front, that I don't want you to go crazy on this. In fact, I encourage you the first time you create a net worth statement to just do your house and car, or cars. And if you have any particular things that are particularly valuable, maybe put those in as well. But don't go crazy on this, because I want you to go through this very quickly. In fact, this first statement, I want it to take less than 20 minutes to create. The next section is bank accounts. This is pretty straightforward. If you've done your personal financial binder, you will already have a list of accounts, and it'll just take you just a matter of minutes to go online and look up what your balance is on that day. Now notice here that I put a statement as of a certain date that's different than the date of the net worth statement. This is perfectly fine. So let's say I have a local bank that doesn't have online access and I can't get my current balance very easily. It's fine for me to go back and look at a statement, even if it's a few weeks old, and just put the value there. This isn't such a strict scientific process. We're not trying to get so completely accurate that we need to be that concerned about the exact date. Investment accounts, again, you can usually list investment accounts. These are all fictional numbers. These are all just, I put in some numbers in here. Now, as far as looking at where you're getting the information, I like to put a note and just say what the website is. You can do that or not, it's up to you. And so in investment accounts, I typically put the same note, where I went to find that information. And it's just nice for the next month. It makes it easy for me to find the information I need. And so as you see right here is I'm totaling up all the assets. So this is just a formula in Excel that is summing up all of the numbers above it. And you can kind of see how that looks in Excel. Here are all my liabilities. These are all my debts, my mortgage, any credit card debts, and any student loans or other loans I might have. And then I total my liabilities right here. In fact, that should be formatted with a comma. Alright, so those are my total liabilities. And then my total net worth, all I'm doing is I'm taking all my assets and I'm subtracting all my liabilities, and that's my net worth number. Now, as you see, it's negative here, and that's because I haven't filled some things in. A negative net worth is definitely not so good. Hopefully it's positive. So we're going to fill in some additional information here. I'm going to scroll up to the top. And this is where I'm going to show you a couple tricks. Now, so again, as you see though, let me just stop for a second and say it's not that complex. This is a pretty easy statement to do. Where people sometimes can get caught up is in this property section, trying to include every single little thing. And in fact, some personal financial consultants and books will tell you you should write down every single asset that you have. You should literally go through and catalog everything in your house. And that to me seems absurd. The reason that seems absurd is the majority of your value of your assets is going to be found in things like your house and your car and large items like instruments or jewelry or things like that. Going through and cataloging every single little thing, you might come up with a few $1,000s or maybe even $10,000 worth, but compared to the value of a house or something, it's a very small percentage. It's just not worth it. I am a believer as you go forward, and once you create the net worth statement, you're in the groove of kind of updating it every month or every 3 months, then you can start adding additional items on. And that's not bad to do. In fact, it can act as a good record for insurance purposes. If you ever have to make a claim or you have a fire and you need to say these are my possessions, it actually can be very useful for that. But I'd encourage you every month when you do your net worth statement, go around the house and look at the most valuable things that you own and put a couple of them on there and add to it. And that'll actually have a nice effect because it'll increase your net worth at a accelerated rate. So. All right, well, let me show you. When people are valuing their house, one question they have is, how much should I value it at? Now, of course, you know how much you bought your house for, but let's say you've lived in it for a number of years and you don't know the current worth. Well, let me show you a few tricks for finding that out. The first resource I'm going to be showing you is Zillow. And if you've never seen this site, it's a really fun site to play around with. What it does is it shows you the value of homes in your neighborhood. And it's fun to look at the neighbors' houses and see how much they're worth compared to yours. In this case, we're going to do, again, I don't live in this area, but I'm just doing it for an example, Fort Worth, Texas. I've visited Fort Worth quite a bit, so I decided to use that. So let's look at a home, pretend home here. And if anybody happens to live in the home we're going to be looking at here, then email me and we'll get a good laugh out of it. I'm assuming the chances of that are extremely low. So here we go, Kenwick Avenue in Fort Worth. And okay, here's my house. Of course, pretend. But this is, let's say this is my house. $196,000 is what it's worth. I can look at the neighbors and say, oh, wow, how is this guy's house worth $400,000? His lot's smaller than mine. What's going on there? And so it's kind of fun to troubleshoot a little bit. If I click on it, then it gives me some details about the value. And if I click on this details, I get even more. So it's a lot of fun, again, to play around with. But it looks like the value of this house, our pretend house here, is $196,400. So we're going to go to here, our net worth statement, put $196,400. And we've got the value of our house. It's as simple as that. It's a great way to determine the value of your house. Now, I will say a couple of caveats with Zillow is that as my wife and I have tracked our actual house, the value of it will fluctuate quite a bit. And so sometimes, we feel like, well, it's estimating a little too high or it's estimating a little too low, and we might adjust it. But the nice thing is you can look at all the values of all the houses in the neighborhood and make your own estimation of how much you think it's worth. Zillow has its own algorithms where it looks at houses recently sold in the neighborhood and what their value is, and then it'll look at how comparable that is to your house. In other words, is it close to the same square footage? Does it have the same number of bathrooms? Does it have, any number of factors? Does it have a finished basement? Those types of things. And it'll, add or subtract based on, comparable houses, and it'll make your estimate, based on its own algorithm. Now, I'm not exactly positive what goes into it, but that's the basic idea of it. So feel free to adjust it if you feel like it's really off. But that'll give you a very good starting point. Now in the notes here, next to the house, I always put where I found the information. So Zillow.com, and that's all I really need to put. Now one thing I'm going to make a note of, since it's not February 28th, I'm doing this a little later, so I'm actually going to just put in the actual date. And that way I just know that it wasn't on the exact date, and it's close enough, so that's fine to do.